For this week's project, we're going to make an abstract work of art focusing on the primary and secondary colors. I'm going to start off using just the three primary colors. I'm going to make 3 red shapes, 3 blue shapes, and 3 yellow shapes. As I do that, I want to get a variety of shapes, so they could be just squares, rectangles, triangles, circles. They could be moon shapes and animal shapes and fruit shapes. They could be just squiggly, what we call organic shapes, the curvy, irregular shapes we see in nature. But I want to have big, medium, and small shapes, 3 in each of the primary colors, and draw them nice and big so they overlap. You can even have shapes that are so big they're running off the edge of the page. And when you get to the coloring stage, what I want you to do is color in your primary colored shapes with the corresponding color. So my yellow rectangle is going to be yellow, and my blue hand shape is going to be blue. And where the two overlap, I want you to mix the colors. You can either do that by mixing colored crayons. So my yellow on top of my blue is going to make sort of a green, or you could use the secondary color that you get when you mix those two. So I could use just a green crayon in the space where the two shapes overlap. You don't even have to color it solidly. You could choose to make patterns as you're coloring. So you can see on the 3 finger shapes that I have overlapping the blue and yellow, I've got 3 different strategies I used. One was layering colors of crayons. Another was coloring solidly with the secondary color I get when I mix those two, green from blue and yellow. And the third strategy I used was making a pattern combining those colors. Now, I want you to keep going like that as you're coloring. Like I said, color your red shapes red, your blue shapes blue, and where the two overlap, you're going to make purple. Or where the red and yellow are overlapping, you're going to have orange. There are 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And when you mix those colors together, you get what we call the secondary colors. 2 primaries make a secondary color. If I mix blue and yellow, I'm going to get green. If I mix blue and red, I'm going to get purple. And if I mix red and yellow, I'm going to get orange. Now, after you've colored in all of those shapes, I want you to think about the background space, or what we call the negative space in your picture. The strategy that I'm using here is I'm outlining the shapes, and then I'm pressing a little bit harder closer to the shape, so it gets to be a darker gray or a black closer to the shapes, and I get gentler as I get farther away, so it sort of fades as it gets farther away from the shapes. Now, if you look at it, when I've outlined the shapes, I like the way it looks. It sort of makes them pop and stand out. So I'm going to continue that strategy with all of my shapes. I'm outlining all of the shapes, and then I am pressing harder where it's closer to the shapes and letting the crayon sort of fade, getting more gentle, so it fades into a lighter gray or a white as it gets farther away from the shapes. That adds a little bit of value or shading. Now, as always, your artwork does not need to look exactly like my sample. But I do want to see you using a variety of shapes. I want to see big, medium, and small shapes that are overlapping. I want you to focus on the primary colors and how they mix to create secondary colors. So in your artwork, show primary colored shapes, and where they overlap, color it in either solid colors or patterns, showing the color that you get when you mix those 2 primary colors. So where a blue shape overlaps with a red shape, make it purple. Where a yellow shape overlaps with a blue shape, make it green. And where a red shape overlaps with a yellow shape, make it orange.